There are major changes taking place in the world economy. Global trade and economic growth is slowing down. Technology is moving very rapidly. Robotics, data analytics, 3D printing, artificial intelligence, all of these affect the way we live, work, and play. Businesses and individuals must adapt. Government needs to work together with all parties for the whole economy to thrive and to create exciting opportunities.
Thank you very much, Minister, for joining us today. The Committee on the Future Economy has been tasked to position Singapore for the future. What is so different about the next economic shift?
Well, I think there are different dimensions to it. In terms of the global economy, we're in an era where there's slower growth. Yet in our part of the world, especially when you look at Asia and ASEAN, the growth rates are better and there are more opportunities. The economies in our region are also restructuring, moving up the value chain. So one aspect of it is really how Singapore adapts to these shifts and participate in the growth. The other element is technology itself. When you look at the shifts that are taking place in terms of technology, it's affecting almost every industry, sometimes in a very immediate way and others in a more gradual way, but the overall impact is quite profound.
The future economy is going to bring a lot of changes. What are the biggest challenges?
Fundamentally, it's about mindset. If you're a business, it's about saying, I want to innovate because I'm trying to create new things, new solutions, and bring it to the market, not just here, but around the world. If I'm an individual, it's about saying that I'm prepared to go out of my comfort zone and acquire new skills and capabilities because I know that the requirements in the market are changing. That's at the heart of it.
We need to break away from that model without losing what has made us successful in the past, but at the same time, changing the mindset so we know that the winners of tomorrow are the people that understand the convergence of things. Today, even you take an Apple Watch, there's design to it. There's creative thinking around it, right? Cloud computing, artificial intelligence, all of these things completely change the way we need to look at the world.
Well, I mean, to touch on your point about mindsets, I think it's very important for SMEs to have the right mindset when they develop their business model. For example, some of our customers feedback about how our sizing is slightly bigger than normal. It's not the average Asian sizing. And why is it that we're following the international brands? And I always tell my colleagues, we have to have the international mindset.
One thing that we find as a challenge in Singapore is that fear of failure. There is no guarantee to success. We have to be ready to say, okay, that didn't work very well. What did we learn out of it? Let's not repeat the same mistake.
So actually, I agree with you. And that's one of the reasons why I think this mindset shift is very important. It's at individual, company, and societal level. Because we talk a lot about innovation. But innovation is an inherently risky thing.
Completely.
There's no guarantee that just because you go down a path, you're going to succeed. And in fact, the risk is probably higher than using something that's worked elsewhere and then just adapting it to your local environment or situation. So therefore, it needs a certain level of self-confidence that we can actually venture forth. And when something fails, it's not about taking great umbrage at it and saying, why did it fail? But seeing what are the reasons behind it. Can this be turned into a learning opportunity? Because as we have seen in many other parts of the world as well, and even in Singapore, sometimes failure is the mother of success.
Yes.
I try to encourage my team to always innovate. Innovation in terms of making use of cloud technology, data technology, in terms of our everyday systems, how to improve our efficiency, how to improve our productivity, in which we already currently utilize and have systems in place. We need to continuously improve and to make sure that we are always productive, always efficient.
Can you give me examples of how technology has created challenges for businesses in Singapore?
Retail is a classic example. The conventional model of having your physical shop. Today, the biggest phenomenon is online retailing or electronic commerce. You can actually have global reach. So it can disrupt the business, if you continue it in the conventional way, or it can give you a completely new degree of freedom and opportunity if you embrace it and use it to your advantage.
What is going to happen to us if this technology takes my job? It is a harsh reality we have to face. We're here just to say that if we don't adopt it and get on the bandwagon, we are going to be completely irrelevant. This happens across mechanical, electrical, software engineering, and across a lot of industries in Singapore. It's the same thing.
So I think the point really is, therefore, we should be proactive. So one of the terms people use is you're either the disruptor or you get disrupted.
Velda, you do have first-hand experience in this, don't you?
Yes. 10 years ago, the e-commerce was very different from now. There wasn't anything like last-mile logistics. That was something that I faced when I was trying to send out my parcels to my customers. To write down their addresses, I have to go to Singapore Post to paste a stamp on it, and my customers have to wait like 3 to 5 days to receive their parcels. But right now, next day delivery. And it's instant. And if they can't get their parcel, all they need to do is click on the website and track where their parcel is. These are technologies that has been helping and giving the framework of e-commerce businesses, but also to help improve the systems. Every step of the way is shortened. Instead of like 1 week for a customer to wait for her parcel, now it's just shortened to a day. So I think companies can make use of all these advancements to improve the way that they do things. There's also enterprise resource planning, where you can combine your POS systems from your store to your online store, your inventory management, your warehouse management. It's actually very helpful from one system alone.
Minister, we've got a lot of strengths as a country. Going into this whole new era of change, what do you think are the strengths which are relevant to the new economy, and what do you think we can better do to leverage off them?
When you talk about our strengths, what are they? We are small, but actually our size allows us to be better organized, coordinated, and to be able to compete as a system. And that is a huge advantage, because it means that our ability to not just conceptualize solutions, but to then bring the relevant people around the table, coordinate ourselves, execute it well. I think this is a major differentiating factor. So how does it apply to technology? What it means is, today, if you're an SME in manufacturing, you might be concerned, how does 3D printing, robotics, how are all these things going to affect me? How do I use it? It's by bringing our larger companies into partnerships. So we have various initiatives, and the CFE wants to emphasize this collaboration more. The small companies are able to work with the big companies. And then 2 things happen there. One is knowledge transfer, and the other is you understand what the bigger company or the international company require of me in order to remain competitive.
One of the key strengths of Singapore is the system, the cohesiveness of the system, the support mechanism. So it's not like you're going to go out being alone. No, you go in the middle of the ocean, you have a lifeline. And it could be partnership, it could be the government, it could be a financial partner, it could be legal advice, whatever it is. Quite honestly, I don't know of any other country today that acts as a system as well as Singapore does. So that's a huge strength.
It's not always easy with this technological disruption. What are some examples of industries that will be able to do well?
The crux of it would be this. We have an economy that's diversified. We've got certain areas where we have built our strengths over the decades. So if you look at manufacturing, especially in electronics, biomedical, petrochemicals, we've got some core capabilities, precision engineering. We also have strengths in financial services, in logistics services, etc. We should be looking at the areas where we are already strong or have deep capabilities and see what needs to be done to make sure we maintain the competitiveness. If I'm in financial services, we should be looking at fintech. Saying because fintech can fundamentally change and disrupt a traditional bank or financial services business. And you can use the same analogy for many other sectors as well. We've got to make sure that we build on them. And that's why one of the things that we're doing is these industry transformation maps, which account for about 80% of our GDP. We're looking at where are we today, what are the things that can affect this in terms of the competitiveness, and how can we work collaboratively between industry, unions and workers and government agencies to bring them to the next level.
In terms of the technology roadmap that you're seeing, artificial intelligence is going to be more disruptive than we've ever seen before. Its productivity and its capability far exceeds anything that the mind can believe. It allowed us to implement industrial robots across more countries and more clients simultaneously.
The other side of it is actually new industry opportunities. Digital economy or digitalization. It cuts across everybody because everybody is involved with data and you need the digital capabilities and Internet of Things and so on. You need cybersecurity capabilities. Another area is data analytics. We need people who can make sense of all this gigabytes or terabytes of data that's being generated, whether you're in aerospace and so on. To get back to your core question, we can look at this as building on some of our traditional strengths and at the same time looking at new opportunities that are being created.
Right, but how certain are you about the growth opportunities? You've identified these areas.
If you look at it in terms of the market opportunity, you can't say it completely with certainty. But I think we can, on balance, make an assessment that these are certain areas. A few core sectors are digital economy, advanced manufacturing, urban solutions, because Asia is rapidly urbanizing. It needs solutions for city living in terms of infrastructure, in terms of service provision and so on. Logistics solutions because of the greater connectivity across economies. Healthcare is another area which has got significant potential. So these are areas where both because of our capabilities that we have already and because of the opportunities that we see presenting themselves over the next 5-10 years, where we can actively pursue for the benefit of Singapore's economy.
I'm going to talk about healthcare services. All of us, sooner or later, we are a consumer of healthcare services. But if you think about the future, it's amazing what may happen in Singapore. Some of the research institutes, some of the technology being developed is fantastic. So you talk about tissue engineering. So I'm going to give you a crazy example, but maybe not that crazy. Maybe in 10 years down the road, I want to have my bank of organs that are 3D printed because I've given my genomic data to the government because I trust the government. And you know what? I don't mind to have my bank of organs 3D printed, kept for me or on command, because now I need a new knee, a new liver, a new whatever, okay? That's exciting.
Minister, what about industries that will see a lot of job displacements?
So I think job displacement really is a result of the industry transforming or changing for a variety of reasons, and therefore the skill sets that are required may be very different to what was traditionally required. If I can use an older example, when ATM machines came along, bank tellers became less important to a bank's business. But the tellers were retrained in order to address higher order requirements of their customers. So whether it is about advising customers on the bank products or other kinds of services that adds value to the customers, which means learning new skills and capabilities. The other aspect is the issue of what we call skills mismatch. So the skills we acquired in the past or even today may not all be relevant for the future. So this is why the emphasis on skills future and the emphasis on pre-employment training and education in our IT, poly and university in order to stay current to the needs in the market.
Everyone has to look back at themselves and say, what am I really good at? What are my positive experiences? What are my core capabilities? Where am I the master craftsman? So in the engineering world, we look at everybody, and after everyone has moved and grown in their careers and everything, we'd like to strip it off away and say, as an individual, as a professional, what's the person really good at doing? And when you can figure that out and you can highlight it to your teammate, it's the best way to give them the direction of what to pivot towards as the next skill set that they're going to learn.
The problem with our system today, and it's not just Singapore, by the way, it's worldwide, is that we want people to have done all of these steps and to have shown they were successful here. That's a waste of time, that's a waste of talent, and that's why these young people live somewhere else. So give them challenges where you know it's going to be a stretch, but you're going to make sure they're going to be successful. But you have to stretch them. In today's economy, forget this highly structured role. Assistant product manager, and then senior product manager. Forget that. Just put them as product director straight out of school. See how they do.
You're a brave man.
Yeah. No, but we need to provoke that thinking Because if you don't do that, our young people will never learn how to take risk. But you're responsible for the risk. They're not responsible. You're responsible. That's the lifeline.
Jean-Luc, how do we encourage companies to break out of an island mentality and go out there and seize new opportunities?
Great question. Singapore is a beautiful island. So there's a natural behavior to be nice and comfortable. But to break away from that island, to me, is an urgent necessity. Because if we go back to what we said earlier on, business, academia, research, retail, whatever, nobody can live in a market being isolated from the rest of the world. It's not an option, it's a necessity. And also, the brand of Singapore is extremely powerful. And you see it when you're abroad. Quality, integrity, innovation. There's a lot of factors when you build that brand overseas. Yes, the government has a role to play, but it's really not a major role. It's really a role to sustain, to help that first step, that baby step, and then you jump abroad.
What are some examples of local businesses which have been successful overseas?
Well, I would say that one example is certainly our developers in terms of the property business in the region in China. They've gone out there in a big way. Then if you look at the consumer goods companies like Osim, BreadTalk, Charles and Keith, and so on, they developed core products which they are strong in, they are known for, and then they use that product and created channels to go abroad. This is the kind of models that we want to see more of. I would say that in many of their cases, they did face challenges. It was not as if it was smooth sailing all the way. But I think there was conviction at the leadership level. They invested in their effort, learned from some of the setbacks, and persevered. And then you see them developing the footprints. You can give many examples, but it just serves to show that if you have a good product and you have the strategic vision, you can get there. Mm-hmm.
The CFE will put forth its recommendations to review Singapore's economic strategies. How will these recommendations generate good jobs and opportunities for Singaporean workers?
The CFE's objective is really looking at a more medium to longer term. So something like a time horizon of, say, 5 to 10 years. Why that is because if we are too focused on just the short term and dealing with immediate problems, we may win the battle but lose the war because we are losing sight of the longer term trends which can fundamentally change a lot of the things that we're doing today, and the value proposition might be lost. The CFE recommendations are around a few key areas. One pertains to ensuring Singapore remains well connected into regional and global markets. In other words, Singapore staying open, connected, for talent, for economic flows, and also to be able to participate in the growth in the region and beyond. That is an important dimension, but it has to be nuanced because even in Asia, China is not just one monolithic market. The different provinces and even the cities, tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, they are very different. The other element in it is about building the capability of our enterprises. So whether it is about going international, whether it is about developing their innovation capacity to develop new products, new services, new offerings. And that's where a lot of the effort is on how can we leverage on our R&D spending, how can we bring big enterprises and small enterprises closer together to partner and learn and collaborate. How can we also create collaborations across industries through trade associations and chambers? So in that process, the kind of jobs that will be created are going to be jobs that have got a higher emphasis on skills, on knowledge. And this is why we need to, at the individual level, be able to move from just looking at qualifications to looking at deep skills, knowledge, and capabilities of the individual.
In rounding up our discussion, I'd like to hear from you what your wish lists are for the future. A wish list as corporate leaders, as business owners, and for your employees as well.
I think for myself, it's having enough wisdom actually to navigate a very difficult global economy for all the different parts of the business that we're in. For the teammates I have in the office, it is about the continued tenacity, which is going to get much harder as territories where we are involved in increase and the business continues to grow. For the entire business, we are going to hope that the gambles that we made in terms of product development and where we're going to be going in the future actually pay off. As we have mentioned this evening, everything's changing so quickly right now. We just hope that we jumped on the right boat at the right time.
I think for me, it's to increase my talent pool and also to make sure that my employees have the opportunities to take risks, innovate, and provide solutions for the company without the fear of failure.
Jean-Luc?
My passion is to help young people be successful in life. Building teams, finding opportunities in businesses to help those young people become successful is incredibly motivating. I think it's a Chinese saying that goes, one generation builds the tree, the next generation enjoys the shade. I want to help people plant and build and grow trees. That's my wish for Singapore.
Prime Minister, your comments.
I'd look at it in three ways. I think for our companies and enterprises, I'd like to see us move from value-adding activities to value-creating activities, underpinned by innovation, our capabilities, and a desire to branch out into regional and global opportunities and being nimble in responding to them. For individuals, the biggest shift we should emphasize is really not so much about age or qualifications per se. It's about the acquisition of deep skills, broad knowledge, and having the adaptability to respond to changes in the workplace, in the market. For Singapore as a country and as an economy, it's very important that we stay open, connected, and resilient so that we can create exciting opportunities for our people and our businesses.
This discussion has certainly highlighted our economic challenges and opportunities. While the CFE recommendations will help us be poised for the future economy, I think it's very important that everyone plays a part in preparing for the changes and for the new demands. Let's build upon our strengths and be nimble and adaptable in order to seize future opportunities. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please join us again next week. And thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.